One thing that I really need you to think about while I'm talking about this project is I want you to think about what ukuleles, DEQ staff, public space recycling, and biking have in common. So as we're talking, I want you to think about those 4 items and what they could possibly have in common. So our story begins with knowing a little bit about East Lansing and how we move things, environmental projects forward. So I think that we're very fortunate in East Lansing because we have sort of the trifecta. We have political will, we have resident will for sure, and we have staff will. So you get these 3 things together, and we all want to do these projects. We all want to move things forward. One thing that we don't have enough of, like many, many municipalities in Michigan, is the funding to do everything that we want to do. So we have to get creative sometimes, and we have to really look for sources. So our story begins when we had the political will, the resident will, and the staff will to transform our residential curbside recycling program to a cart system. This began a few years ago. We didn't have the funding for it, and we really had to think about how are we going to seek out funding, how are we going to seek out partners, how are we going to make this happen? Because when you have political will, and you have resident will, and you have staff will, saying we can't do it isn't really a choice, right? So you have to find a way to make it happen. So we reached out to the Recycling Partnership, and if you have not worked with them, looked at their website, looked at their materials, talked with them yet, I would highly, highly recommend doing that. They are a great, fantastic resource, and we're very grateful for our time and our projects with them. We were able to receive a grant. We were the first city in Michigan, and I think in most of the northern states, to receive a grant to transform our residential recycling curbside program. If you know about the Recycling Partnership, you know that they're funded by many, many different entities. One of them happens to be Amcor, plastics manufacturer here that has a big presence in Michigan. As a result of the grant that we received for curbside recycling, Amcor approached us about another gift, a gift of $25,000 to do public space recycling in our downtown. I don't know about you guys, but being approached with a gift of $25,000 is pretty exciting. Made our day. We were like, yes. About 5 seconds later, we thought, no, this is a dilemma because $25,000 is not going to create public space recycling in our downtown. Let's be realistic. We have design standards. We want to use best practices. This gift came with strings attached. The containers needed to be aesthetically pleasing. We agree with that from the City of East Lansing side. We needed to be able to collect data. We needed to use the best practice of pairing it with refuse containers. And as you can see from the picture here, our refuse containers in our downtown needed to be replaced. So this was not simply throwing some plastic bins downtown and saying we have public space recycling. This was an enormous project. This was a $25,000 gift. We needed to make up over $100,000 to really make this project work. So that's where a gift becomes a dilemma, but it's still a gift, and it's not something you're going to say no to. So we had to think about how are we going to do this. Having a gift of $25,000 put us in a position of being able to approach other groups within the city. And it's really important when something like this happens to think, okay, within Public Works where I work, within the recycling division where I work, I can't make up that extra money. What am I going to do? How am I going to make this happen? So we started thinking about who else does this touch? When we're talking about our downtown, we're talking about our planning department. We're talking about economic development. We're talking about those folks who work in the downtown and work with these kinds of things every day. So rather than just keep this within our Department of Public Works, we really had to expand it out and say, how can we make this happen and how can we bring in staff creativity from other areas and look at how we can work together? So in working with our planning staff and our economic development staff, we were able to approach our DDA and get some additional funding. We also looked at this project as saying, how can we phase this in? It did not seem realistic to do the entire project all at once. We also knew that by phasing it in, we might be able to get some excitement rolling and look at some other grants or other kinds of ways to fund this project. So by phasing the project and working in our core downtown and getting the funding for half the project, we were actually able to approach the Community Spaces and Public Places program with MEDC and MISHTA and say, you know, we think we have a good project here. This is where it's really important to possibly bundle your project with another project. So our planning staff, little to my knowledge, was struggling with how were they going to fund bike parking. It was a big initiative for them, and it was something that they really needed to do. So we said, well, you know what? If we put bike parking together with public space recycling, that sounds like a great public space grant project. So if you're familiar with this grant, it's really a crowdfunding project. And so the match funds for everything you raise, you're getting match funds. So we went back to our really wonderful partners at the Recycling Partnership and at AMCOR and said, hey, for phase 2, we've gotten approval to do this program. We're going to go for this, and if you give us another gift, that gift is going to get doubled. It's going to get matched, and all the funds that we raise will get matched. We went back to our DDA and said, if you give us additional funds for phase 2, those funds are going to be matched, and we can make up this whole project. So that's what we were able to do. In the end, the phased approach really helped us build some excitement around this project. It also helped us pull in the bike parking, which was really exciting for us and very cool. And it allowed us to really fulfill that political will, resident will, staff will to get this entire project on the ground and completed. So I did bring in sort of a project budget here. So that phase 1 cost us about $80,000. So starting again with a gift of $25,000, we really ended up with a project that in total was over $130,000, but we were able to get match funds through our Patronicity crowdfunding project. We were able to bring in our other partners, such as the DDA. Because we sort of expanded that scope of this project outside of our Department of Public Works, we were able to look at other divisions and say, you know, what can planning bring to the table? What can parking bring to the table? Can our Parks Department bring a little bit to the table? We have a small park downtown. What are all the little funding pieces that we can pull together and really make this project happen? So I asked you to consider what ukuleles and give me a second here, ukuleles and DEQ and bike parking have in common in public space recycling. And so I'm going to give you a little taste of what that means.
Recycle! Welcome to East Lansing. As the home of Michigan State University, we pride ourselves in being a truly green community. We bike, we recycle, and we know how to respond to Go Green. Go on! This crowdfunding campaign will fund public recycling containers and bike parking locations throughout downtown. If we reach our fundraising goal, the MEDC and MISHTA will contribute a 100% funding match through the Public Spaces Community Places program.
Are we there yet?
Almost, but we need your help. Contribute today for a greener East Lansing tomorrow. Go green!
Go recycle!
Thank you. It's really, really important to give thanks to Matt Flechter, Emily Freeman, and other DEQ staff who were involved with this project. One of the ways that we justify this project was to have data, and so we did a waste sort at MSU, and we've actually done an additional one since then and plan to do some more. And DEQ staff actually volunteered for this waste sort on a very hot and fairly nasty day, and it was really amazing of them. Matt with the video, Emily with just tremendous support. So all I can say is that if you're looking to do a project or thinking about a project or thinking, how can we make this happen, reach out to your DEQ staff. They are amazing, and they will get it done for you. And who knew they had such amazing, film production skills? It's really incredible. I actually think some of the kids were DEQ staff kids as well. So, it was really a family effort. So, thank you.